Feeling good, feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sam Smith Jr. Oh, it is a hump day. Actual NFL stuff to be reporting on. It was all NBA yesterday. Nothing I could do about it. I know a lot of y'all like to tap into the NFL news, but wasn't a lot of NFL stuff, but we do have some of that today, and then we still have some NBA playoff stuff. I'm not going to ignore the NBA playoffs. This is one of my expertise in terms of basketball, and we're talking a lot of football here, and that's been great, building the audience, building up a football, sports-loving community. But we're not going to ignore the NBA. Okay, so you see the topic bar list. Aaron Rodgers' list. His wish list continues to get fulfilled. One more down, one more to go. Will Aaron Rodgers actually fulfill his wish list? One he can't get. One already left and signed to another team. But 2 out of 2, trying to go for 3 out of 3 of what's remaining. A lot of news and nuggets from the NFL draft, stuff still tumbling out. This team was trying to jockey in position to get this guy, so on and so forth. Some of it is interesting, some of it is just teams covering themselves. We'll try to decipher who's actually saying something relevant and who's just trying to protect themselves. And then, hell of a game last night. Hell of a game. Lake Show and the Dubs. Lake Show go up 1-0. Anthony Davis doing AD things. Bron was Bron. Jordan Poole. What were you thinking? We'll get there. See you in the chat. See Thomas checking in. What's good, Thomas? We outside. You know how it is, bro. Making it happen, bringing this content. All right, let's see if we could tap in. So, Aaron Rodgers' list. We know what it is. He's denied it, but it's been reported on enough. We were given a set of names that if he were to actually become a Jet, this is who he wanted the Jets to target, right? So this was a real thing. Now, he has always denied it. He has denied it vehemently. He has denied it repeatedly. And let's go ahead to the screen. Remember, this was the list, okay? Now, this goes back to what? Diana Rossini, 4-Letter Network. March 14th, the whole thing of Aaron Rodgers in the list came out, and he has, like I said, denied it. But if we're to play this right, Allen Lazard, check. Now we got news of Randall Cobb. Let's switch that to the arrow. So we got Allen Lazard, and now we got Randall Cobb. Now he can't get Odell. That's done, right? Can't get Odell. But now does this pave the way for a green light on Mercedes Lewis? Is that where we're going next? Is that who's the last one remaining, right? So we got Randall Cobb in, Allen Lazard in, waiting on Mercedes Lewis, and for all intents and purposes, no Odell because he's out there running around with Lamar. So this Aaron Rodgers wish list. Is he going to get everything that he wants? He clearly got out of Green Bay, which he was ready to move on. He was able to get Allen Lazard already in the tuck before he even got there. Now we're getting reports, thanks to, all the blue check boys and girls, Adam Schefter specifically. Randall Cobb is expected to agree to a 1-year deal with the New York Jets, allowing him to play with Aaron Rodgers in New York. Per sources, the two men who walked off the field together in Green Bay now get to do more work to do together. That doesn't sound right. Get to do more work to do together. Okay, that sounds weird, but anyway. Aaron Rodgers has 534 completions to Randall Cobb, including in the playoffs, the second most to any player in his career behind Davante Adams, and is 687. So this is clearly one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets. Now, I believe in real time we were able to break this down when this list officially came out, and we were like, well, why the hell does he want Randall Cobb? Because Randall Cobb hasn't really been a contributor of any kind over the last few years, right? So let's go ahead and bring this up for Randall Cobb. And let me make sure y'all can see all of that. You can see most of it. Okay, I'll highlight what I need to highlight. So if we're to look at this, this is last year. And if you want to give me, well, last year was, okay, we can even do the last 2 years. The last 2 years, he has started 6 games. He has 89 targets through 2 games. 89 targets through 2 years. Excuse me, not 2 games, 2 years, 89 targets. 62 receptions over the last 2 years. 800 yards over the last 2 years. 6 touchdowns over the last 2 years. So why does he want Randall Cobb? That's just his mans in him. That's really all it comes down to. This is a form of nepotism. This is the power play. This is why he was trying to get this to pop off, like Tom Brady got this to pop off when he first pulled up to Tampa. I'm going to Tampa. Hey, I'm going to get my guy Gronk. He's going to pull up. Hey, I want Antonio Brown. Yeah, he's a malcontent, but I'll have him live with me and I'll get his mind right, at least long enough for us to be in a Super Bowl contention. And he was correct. I'm even going to talk Leonard Fournette. You know what? I don't think you'll get 1,000 yards here, but I just need a capable running back. Do you want to pull up? And of course, Leonard Fournette comes running, and they all get a measure of success, including 1 Super Bowl. So this is what it comes down to. It's the continued cosplay of Aaron Rodgers cosplaying Tom Brady when he went to Tampa. This is his time to get the pieces that he wants in the organization and get some sense of control. That was always the thing with him in Green Bay, right? The fact in Green Bay is that he was always at odds with the GM, with the front office executives in terms of what would be best for him, not necessarily for the team, but for him. Now with the Jets, he is able to put out this wish list, and outside of Odell, they're probably going to find a way to get Mercedes Lewis. I would not be surprised if Mercedes Lewis finds his way onto this roster. Okay. Thomas in the comments. He may get most, but I don't think he would get. Oh, no, but he can't get Odell. Odell's gone, right? So he can't get Odell. But Mercedes Lewis, I mean, the Jets, I believe, have 2, unless they drafted 1, I believe they have 2 tight ends under contract. They could make room for 3. They could definitely make room for 3 and have Mercedes Lewis. I mean, I was under the impression, like, you could just make this dude an assistant coach. As long as he's there, he doesn't necessarily have to play, as long as he's there. But with Randall Cobb, what exactly does Aaron Rodgers see? And he just see his mans in him. He wants to be comfortable. And to make him comfortable in New York with the Jets, he wants familiar faces. And Randall Cobb is a familiar face. Alan Lazard is a familiar face. And Mercedes Lewis is a familiar face. So this is what Aaron Rodgers is trying to get off here in New York. But in terms of on-field production, you should not expect anything. Like the fact that over the last 2 years, and we could even throw in the year in Houston. Let's go ahead and see if we can. No, we can't do 2 years. Okay, we can't do 3 years. Okay, I thought we could do 3 years. Oh, no, we can. Okay. Over the last 3 years, if we want to make the numbers better, which they're not, 8 starts, 100 receptions over the last 3 years, 1,200 yards over the last 3 years, 9 touchdowns over the last 3 years. Like, the numbers are not great. Randall Cobb is no longer productive, okay? He's no longer that guy. You know, you could debate if he was ever a true number 1. I mean, this is a guy who only has 1,000-yard receiving season, okay? You see that here? 2014 is the 1 year he made the Pro Bowl because he had 1,200 yards on 91 receptions with 12 touchdowns. Probably the touchdowns is what matters most there. And he's just kind of been average to below average ever since. He was below average to below average before. He had the 1 spike year. And then after that, he kind of went back to just being normal. Thomas makes a good point. His security blanket, that's exactly what it is. You know, when in doubt, hot route, I know I can hit Randall Cobb for a quick little 4-yard out. You know, he'll always be sitting in the flat. You can always hit him in the flat. But here's the thing. How does he get on the field? If we project this Jets depth chart, how does he get on the field? You know, if we're to take a quick look, now some of these guys are gone, but just in terms of the wide receiver position, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore is gone. Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, I still think Corey Davis most likely is gone. But we got Garrett Wilson, then we have Alan Lazard, that's 2. Then we have, who just want to name, McCole Hardman, that's 3. Corey Davis technically is still on the roster. That's 4. And now we have Randall Cobb. That's 5. And then you still have Denzel Mims at 6. Now, in terms of tight ends, you got Uzuma and Conklin. I believe both are still on the roster. These two guys, Cager and Ruckert, you could probably jettison just to make Aaron happy to bring in Mercedes Lewis. So he's probably going to get the 3 out of the 4. He's going to go 3 for 4 on his wish list. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be able to get, let's see if we can make this on the fly. He'll be able to get these 3. These 3, okay? He'll tap in with those. But in regards to anything else, that's about it for him. It's a wrap for that. But ultimately, why would the Jets give up so much? Like, this is certainly a 1-year thing. He says he's down for 2 years. We'll see. I think it's not a coincidence that even the Allen Lazard 4-year contract, the Jets could get out of that after 2 years. Why do you think that is? Because this guy is tied to Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers decides to, play out to 2 years and then go off to the sunset, then Allen Lazard, assuming he gives average production, which we can look up, if Allen Lazard gives us what he's been doing the last 2 years, that might not be foreseeable to what the Jets would want long term. Right. You see what he's done the last 2 years. I mean, this guy's giving you like 650 a year in terms of receiving yards. Like, this is nothing special in terms of Allen Lazard. So there's a reason why this deal is structured to where after 2 years, the Jets can get out of this Allen Lazard contract. All right. So that's going to be very important. All these contracts are tied to the longevity of how long Aaron Rodgers plans to be a New York Jet. The Randall Cobb deal is only 1 year. You would assume this is a walk-off into the sunset deal, right, for Randall Cobb. Allen Lazard, it's a 4-year deal, but ultimately it's actually only a 2-year deal. And then Mercedes Lewis, I got to imagine it would be along the same lines as Randall Cobb, where he gets a 1-year deal. Because if you look at Mercedes Lewis, and again, we did this a few weeks ago or last month when this list thing came out, he hasn't really brought you anything of note either. This man had all of 6 catches last year. And 23 before that, and 10 before that, and 15 before that, and 3 before that. So this is not a guy you're bringing in to be a weapon. This is a guy, again, just to make Aaron happy. This is a guy to appease him as he transitions from Lambeau to MetLife. Thomas tapping in. I think you're trying to get a ring like Brady. I agree. He is. He certainly is. And I think this is probably the best team in terms of talent he's probably ever going to have on both sides of the ball, actually. I think this is the best. He's hanging out. He's going to Knicks games with Sauce Gardner. Like, he's really ingratiating himself early and often into the New York scene. And I think people are sleeping on the fact that Aaron Rodgers wants to be a star. He wants to be a superstar. He likes to be known as a star. He had the discount double check commercials for oh so long and things of that nature. Like, this is who he is. He is going to bask in the New York spotlight. And I think ultimately, if you are the Jets, this thing better work, because you are certainly bending over backwards. You had to bend over backwards in terms of the compensation, doing the pick swap in the first round with the Packers, going from 13 to 15. You had to acquiesce all these things, giving up second-round pick, giving up future conditional second that could turn into a first, all these things just to get the one guy. Then, while you're trying to get the one guy, you then got to go sign at least 3 out of 4 of his mans. That's a lot. And again, that schedule's going to be difficult. We looked it up. Let me see if we can look this up here on the fly. What was it? Warren Sharp, right? Warren Sharp. They had the strength of schedule. And you see it here. Let's go to the website. No pop-up. All right, cool. Strength of schedule, New York Jets. New York Jets are going to have... Where is it? Where's that little diagram? There it is. Okay. The 25th easiest schedule, right? So that means that's the 7th hardest schedule. So this team that is very talented still is going to have a hella hard way to get to the playoffs because, right now the whole AFC East has the hardest division, has the hardest schedule, projected strength of schedule. That's how it's looking like for the upcoming season. You have the Bills, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and then the Jets, all within the top 10 in terms of strength of schedule. Red means hard, green means easy. Pause. So this is where we're at here. And then this is why I'm talking about if you want to be bullish in terms of futures and win totals, you got to look to that NFC South. NFC South and AFC South. Because you see here the Saints, Thomas's Saints are projected to have the easiest schedule in the league. So it could be a big turnaround for the New Orleans Saints. And then you see the Falcons here with all the moves that the Falcons have done. And I was talking about the Falcons today on ESPN Radio in Chattanooga, Tennessee, with my guy Greg Larnard, who joined us on the live stream of the NFL Draft round 1, night 1 last week. And we were talking about, Bijan Robinson and the impact he's going to have on the Falcons. And when you're looking at this schedule and the things that they've done in the draft and in free agency, they think their window is open. And with Tom Brady no longer in Tampa Bay, that division is wide open. With the Panthers going out there with Bryce Young, you would assume that's going to take some time. But now you're looking at a team like the Falcons that are loading up with Bijan, with Calais Campbell, making the deals for Okudah. Like they're out here loading up on both sides of the ball. The Falcons think there's a window of opportunity to strike in that division. And they're going to try to make it happen. So, it's really a tale of following the data. Now, again, this is as of right now, okay? There still could be some moves here. There could be some trades, unlikely. Could be some injuries, likely. But as of right now, you're looking at the AFC East and Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets having a pretty tough go of it in terms of the division. And their win total is projected as of 9 right now. 9.7, I believe, was the number. Let's make sure. 9.7 in terms of the expected win. 9.5 if you want to make the bet right now. 9.5 wins over or under. How many of y'all would take that bet? And which bet? You going to take the over? Again, the schedules haven't been announced. That'll be the next big day in terms of the NFL calendar. But in regards to as of right now, with the projected strength of schedule, with who the Jets are going to face, 9.5 over or under. Whereas if we take a look at, let's see where the Saints at. The projected win total for the Saints is 9.5 over or under. And you're getting plus odds on this. You're getting plus value on this. That's something to take note of. Now, this is saying you have to bet whether or not you think the Saints are going to win 10 games or not. 10 games is a lot, right? But when you realize they have the easiest schedule in the league coming up this year, barring injury, they have the quarterback position filled now. Kamara's back. Olave, the weapons are returning. They had a pretty solid draft to replenish at some key positions. It's possible that you could take that bet on the New Orleans Saints. But here's the value here to me. The Atlanta Falcons, 7.5 over under. You're getting even odds right here. You're getting even odds. I would take that. Now, I did this with the Eagles and hit it out the park. But again, Eagles, way more talent as of right now than the Falcons. But just saying, this is where the value is. 7.5 win total. Even money. I would actually hope it was, I wonder what the odds were before Bijan. I would have loved to see what the win total, what the line was before Bijan. But anyway, still even money. That would be a bet I would make. And again, because you have the strength of schedule, that really what matters. It fluctuates year to year. We see great teams fall down and go boom because their schedule is really difficult. Thomas, if they stay healthy and start off fast, yeah, that's definitely the key. That's definitely the key. Thomas Ritter is going to have to show he can be the QB. Well, here's the thing, Thomas. I think they've made his job so easy. And I think that's the play. If you don't have a true franchise quarterback, you're going to have to go get a guy who can be competent and just surround him with a myriad of weapons. And I think that's what they're doing with Desmond Ritter. They're making it so with Ritter that, okay, He's a third-round pick. He only started 4 games. All right, how can we show that we believe in him? Well, he's already got Drake London and Cal Pitts. How can we improve upon that? He's already got Algiers, which was a revelation, and we still have Cordell Patterson. How could we improve to really make this overwhelming? All right, how about we go get Bijan Robinson, who can be our Deebo Samuel, who could be our Christian McCaffrey, and let him loose in this offense. Now, Ritter's job becomes that much easier. So when he does play well, it's going to make people think, oh, see, the Falcons knew what they were doing with Ritter, when actually it's just, we just gave him all the weapons in the world that it is hard to fail. It's hard to fail when you have Drake London, Cal Pitts, and Bijan Robinson and Algiers. They can use Bijan and Algiers at the same time. If they do it right. If they do it right, they can still make this happen where Algiers doesn't have to get demoted. Algiers can still tote the rock, and you still have Cordero. Maybe Cordero goes back to being a receiver now. Or maybe you keep him in this hybrid running back receiver mode. Like, there's a lot of ways to make this pop. But that's how you find the value. And if you're looking at teams with the hardest schedule in 2023, these are all AFC East teams damn near. Patriots, Bills, and you got the Dolphins, and 2 spots behind them at 7 is the Jets. So 4 of the 7 hardest schedules for next year are all in the AFC East. And that's why a team that has all the talent in the world, like the Jets on both sides of the ball, goes out there and adds a Hall of Fame QB in Aaron Rodgers, and yet their win total is still only 9.5. Now, is there some teams we could fade? Think the Chiefs going to win 12 games? That's a big number. How about the Cardinals at 5.5? No faith. Eagles at 10.5. They're daring you to do it. They're daring you to fall for that bet again. It was a good bet last year. 10.5. Let's see where their strength of schedule is at. Oh, it's kind of in the middle. Yeah, I wouldn't touch that. So yeah, that's going to be the thing with the Aaron Rodgers and the Jets is ultimately it's going to come down to they're bending over backwards to acquiesce for him. He's trying to be on his Tom Brady and Tampa wave. How is this going to work when you're in a very competitive division? The one thing about the Tampa Bay Brady thing is that division was not that competitive. He walked in there and it was almost a guarantee they were going to win the division. That's not the case in New York. You do have Josh Allen and all those guys to compete with in Buffalo. You do have Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and all those guys to deal with in Miami to contend with. And then, the Patriots are no walkover. They're not a great team. You could argue if they're even a good team, but they're not going to be a walkover. So I don't think this whole trying to be Tom Brady cosplay is going to be such a smooth transition for Aaron Rodgers. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for him to be able to keep up with the fact of Tom Brady walked into such a perfect scenario where it was a division that was mid, and he walked in and had Mike Evans, Chris Godwin already there. I'm going to bring in Gronk. I'm going to bring in Fournette. I'm going to convince AB to act right for 12 months, and we're going to make this thing pop. Defense was already stout and young and hungry. It's going to be away we go. In a division that was mid and easy to take over, that is not the case in the AFC East. You got some real horses in the AFC East. The Bills are not for play. The Dolphins are not for play. The Patriots are, they're mid, but they can jump up and get you week in, week out. Like they're going to be competitive week in, week out. So I think the Aaron Rodgers thing is really just about him being comfortable. I know he thinks he's good enough to will this thing into a Super Bowl champion, or at least a Super Bowl contender. But I do not think this is going to be the same Tom Brady thing. I do not believe it. I do not see it. The strength of schedule plays a part into it. And the fact that this division is not mid, is not soft, like how Tom Brady had when he went to the NFC South. So that'll be my take on that. Come out here. So there's some NFL draft fallout. Oh, let me hit the chat one time. Tell me it's going to be hard to defend that team. Allen better get to work. Yeah. Yeah, it's that division is going to be tough when it comes to the NFC South. When you look at the weapons that Atlanta now possesses, they're trying to make a play to run that division, not just this year, but for the very near future. Like they want to run it for the next two. Their window, if Desmond Ridder isn't horrible, if Desmond Ridder is just okay, they have a 3 to 4 year window where they can be in the mix to win that division and be in the playoffs all 3 to 4 years. That's the window if Desmond Ridder is just okay. If he's good with those weapons, now that window becomes, they're second round good. They're not just maybe win the division with a bad record good. No. They're going to win the division. They're going to win double-digit games, and they can win a round or two. Now, if Ridder is great, now you're talking Super Bowl. That's how scary that offense could be. All right. So, T/cleanup stuff from the NFL draft. It's a couple of stories that I wanted to tap in on real quick. So, the Seahawks, jump back into the screen. The Seahawks definitely considered, quote unquote, drafting QB Anthony Richardson 5th overall prior to the Colts taking him one spot ahead, per Pete Carroll. Now, I know that sentence sounds weird, because how could the team with the 5th pick consider Anthony Richardson because he went 4th? But just in the sense of seeing how the board breaks down, right? Pete Carroll added, he might be the best athlete that's ever been drafted at that position. He's arguably that. And then you can see the combine numbers where he went crazy, 4.4 in the 40, 40-inch vert, 10 feet on the broad jump, which was all combine records, and 4th fastest 40 time bar by a QB in the combine since 03. So, he's him when it comes to athleticism, pure athleticism. So, now the Seahawks did eventually draft a QB, correct? I believe they did eventually draft a QB, but in the later rounds. But they have such a sweet spot at the 5th spot. They could have went Jalen Carter. If the Colts didn't go Anthony Richardson, it could have went there. They could have went Anthony Richardson at 5. They could have done Bijan, even though they got Kenneth Walker, so that might have been overkill there. It was potential. They could have went JSN, but they ended up spinning the block on JSN with the 20th pick. So the Seahawks at that 5th spot, taking the DB Witherspoon was really a weird pick to me. I didn't want to make them an outright loser in the draft, but I was confused as to a DB being taken that high. It just rings hollow to me. I liked Witherspoon coming into this draft, but I never thought top 5 type pick. Like overall, that was just a stretch to me. But look, let's see if they can rebuild the LOB, the Legion of Boom secondary with the Seahawks. But allegedly, the Seahawks definitely considered Anthony Richardson. Again, this to me doesn't really mean that much, especially when I believe, let me just double check here. I believe they definitely did draft a quarterback. Let's see. Let's see. I just need the actual data, nothing else. Did they take a QB? No, they did not take a QB, it looks like. Maybe I'm bugging. No, they did not take a QB. My bad. I thought they took a QB late because so many QBs went late, like 3rd, 4th, 5th round. They did not take a QB. So now that makes that 5th pick even more interesting because, not to say that they should have took Will Levis, but when you're looking at their 2nd round picks, they had 2 2nd round picks that could have been Hendon Hooker territory. That could have been, Will Levis went early in the 2nd, so maybe not there. But in terms of, they could have been in the mix for a lot of QBs, and they didn't take not one QB. If you're Geno Smith, you have to feel good about that, right? Because there was definitely a scenario where you could have had, if not a 1st round QB, but at least a high round pick QB behind you heading into training camp. Now it doesn't really seem to be anyone of note behind Geno Smith. He has to feel comfortable where he's sitting in that position. After all the smoke screen leading up to the draft where Pete Carroll and them kept saying, yeah, we're considering a QB. We're definitely thinking about taking a QB. They didn't get to take up not one quarterback the entire draft with a surplus of picks, by the way. So that's interesting. They had no thirds, but they had 2 seconds, 2 firsts, 2 fourths, 2 fifths. So they had a surplus of picks. And the Seahawks, if Geno goes down, Lord help them. So in regard to the Titans were attempting to trade up to the 3rd overall pick, which is all we knew. We knew that going into the draft, and we were waiting on that when the Cardinals were on the clock at the 3rd spot. They were up to trade to the 3rd overall pick for quarterback C.J. Stroud in the 2023 draft prior to the Texans taking him 2nd. Once Houston picked Stroud, Titans, quote, dropped out of the bidding for the trade. So once C.J. Stroud was taken, so that tells you they were not willing to trade up for Will Levis. I'm going to assume they were not that high on Anthony Richardson because they certainly could have still traded up to 3 to take him. But if they were only willing to trade up if C.J. Stroud was there, then that makes all the sense in the world of why they didn't bother moving up from 11 once C.J. Stroud went 2nd to the Houston Texans. But yes, as this addendum says right here, now the Titans are going to face him twice a year. See Thomas in the chat. Pete Carroll always talking hard to believe. Always talking hard to believe him about anything. Yeah, that's facts. He says a lot of stuff. He tries to get it off like he's this, super smart dude that is kind of, off the beaten path type. Like, but I don't know. I don't know if I ever believe it. Don't know if I ever believe it. But let's see. Let's see if there's anything else from Breer. Even he's looking at Mercedes Lewis. Mercedes Lewis is on deck because it has to be. With Randall Cobb in the mix now, yep. Has to be that. Is that Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry doing wind sprints up a hill. Okay. You see, a lot of these videos have been pretty cool of getting these draft picks. And as the moment happens, I think NFL Films has been the main ones in charge of that. That's been pretty cool to watch on the timeline. But let's get to this story. Jackson Holmes, brother of Chiefs MVP quarterback Patrick Mahomes, has been arrested on suspicion of aggravated sexual battery. Now, this happened down there in Florida, down there near Miami, Overland Park. And Overland Park police confirmed the incident stemmed from an accusation by the owner of an Overland Park restaurant in which he allegedly assaulted her and shoved a waiter in separate incidents. Now, there is video of this because the video circulating online shows Jackson Mahomes, 22, kissing the 40-year-old owner of the restaurant, right? Now, there is the video here. I don't want to get into the copyright stuff, but that's all you need to see there. Yeah, it's a lot going on. Patrick Mahomes has been saying some comments in regards to how QBs do their business. We know the type of people he has around him. Unfortunately, they have not been bringing the best light to him. And this is yet another example of that. As Jackson Mahomes is out here running around thinking he Pac, allegedly aggravated assaulting owners of restaurants. So Jackson Mahomes is now out of jail on $100,000 bail. Do you think Patrick sent the wire? Patrick sent the wire. He put up the 100K. Most likely, right? He sent the 100K. All right. Here's some news. I mean, I don't know how big of a thing this is, but Cowboy star linebacker, this is Micah Parsons, is moving to defensive end. He's going to be an edge rusher full time after he'll bulk and add weight in the offseason. Okay, so I mean, Micah Parsons says that his added weight will not surpass 255. He's already listed at 6'3", 245. So to me, this is much ado about nothing. Like, that was kind of his position anyway, and that's kind of where a lot of these linebackers that are turning into edge rushers that are being drafted, this is kind of what I've been talking about. It's like some of them are really good because they're speed guys, but to stay at that position, you need to get bigger. You need to get stronger and put on some weight because all that fast shit is cool, but you're going to get crushed on the line. You're going to get a pulling guard, a pulling center. They're going to crack you, or even a crackback from a spunky wide receiver. That can all go down. Like, you need some weight to play that edge position. I know it's nice to have a faster, lighter guy off the edge, and you could, get under the shoulders of the tackle and get to the QB. That's great. But more times than not, you're gonna have to be you're gonna be good against the run as well. And if you're too busy trying to, Javon Curse your way through, or doing spin moves and all that, like, you're gonna have to really find a way to have your feet planted and be able to keep a stout base and be able to hold firm on that edge. That to me is almost as important as how fast are you around the corner on the tackle to get to the QB. So this is probably a thing that was a long time coming, but Michael Parsons making a full-time move to defensive end, because as a linebacker, he was okay. He wasn't that great anyway. So this is his preferred position anyway. So much ado about nothing, but a move that was expected. All right, so we'll come off that. That's a little bit of your NFL draft fallout. All right, man. I've been trying to hang on as long as I can. That Laker game last night. Lakers, Dubs. Let's get into it. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see. Why do they not have that up? Let's refresh. There it is. Okay. Oh, yeah. The Knicks won last night, but, I'm not going to go too crazy on that. But in regards to the game of the night last night, the game of the night last night was game one between the Lakers and the Warriors, and we were previewing it yesterday. And a lot of the stuff we talked about yesterday came to fruition in this game. Lakers take it by 5. They held on late. As you can see here, there was a lot of scoring early. Both teams buckled down in the second half. But I think the most important thing we need to look at is shot distribution. Guys knowing when to shoot and when not to shoot. This was a game that was very important for the Lakers to get off on the right foot. You couldn't have a role player playing out of their mind. And you look at the role players, look at the shot distribution. Bron took the most shots, although he shot the worst amongst the guys that took the most shots. He was horrible from 3, but he took the most shots with 24. But D'Lo and AD both took 19. And Anthony Marshawn Davis was the difference. 19 shots, 19 rebounds, defensive rebounds, 23 in total, 5 dimes, 4 blocks. He did everything. He literally did everything. 30 points, 5 dimes, 4 blocks, 23 rebounds, perfect from the line, and he shot 58% from the floor, and he was shooting the midi last night. The mid-range jump shot was cooking, and if he's making that shot, because we know he can beat up on the Warriors inside, and he did that. He punished Looney a couple of times. The habitual nut hitter got stuck on AD, punished him. And, him and D'Lo have that little lob game working, cooking real nice off the pick and roll, the screen and roll when he slips the screen and dives to the cup. They have a lot of that cooking. And if he's hitting the midi, it's over. And this is going to be over in 5 if AD can keep hitting the midi. If he keeps hitting that midi, this series is over in 5. And, you heard Barkley in the post game on TNT last night saying, AD has to stay motivated. I don't know what AD he's talking about. This is playoffs. I don't see AD taking the game off. You can make some criticism in terms of AD wanting to get some shots up at times, but he's always engaged defensively. And that's still, as good as his offensive numbers are, he's that much better defensively. And that's why when we talk about best player in the league, best player in the world, all this stuff, I just don't know why a healthy AD is never in these discussions. We hear about Giannis, we hear about Embiid, we hear about Jokic, we still hear about Steph, we hear about KD. Some people still throw in LeBron, but 30, 23, 5 dimes, 4 blocks, 58% from the floor. Who else but him? Who else but him? But they had the stat of for the Lakers, only him and Wilt or some craziness like that. Like that's just who he is. Let's hit the chat real quick. Thomas, if AD keeps playing like that, the Lakers will be hard to beat. You got that right, bruh. That is 100% a fact. And, that's why more times than not, people get upset about people buying in on the Lakers and how come people keep, jocking the Lakers. It's because they have Anthony Davis and LeBron James. When your 1-2 is that, you give that a chance. There's only 5 guys on the court. And if I have 2 of the best of the 5 guys on the court, like that's ridiculous. Like, I'm going to win more times than not. And when you're looking at the Warriors, Steph played well, but Jared Vanderbilt had him in the torture chamber. Jared Vanderbilt had Steph in a torture chamber. Clay has been shooting horribly. He hit 6 threes, so he did his job from that point of view. But when he tried to go to the rim and shoot some middies, he was off. Wiggins as a third option, not the greatest night, wasn't really that active. This box score can fool you in terms of how active he was. This is the quietest 15 and 6 I've ever seen. And Looney puts up big rebound numbers, 7 offensive rebounds, coming off he had 10 offensive rebounds in the last series. In the clincher, now he gets with 7 more, so 23 rebounds, so 10 and 23. But again, defensively, against the bigs that the Lakers have, specifically Anthony Davis, he is barbecue chicken. He is food. He is Swiss cheese. He is whatever negative connotation of food you want to put. That's what Kevon Looney is when AD is in the paint or just at the top of the key and starting to cook. Too many moves. AD's got too many moves. And Jordan Poole, fresh off the punch from hell that he received from the habitual nut hitter in preseason. This guy, everyone's talking about that shot, and there's a great breakdown analysis from Tim Legler from the 4-Letter Network. And Jordan Poole, do I think he should have took that shot? No, he should not have took that shot. But it doesn't matter because Jordan Poole was always going to take that shot. Jordan Poole was always going to take that shot because that's what got him $100 million. What got him $100 million is the confidence to think I can pull and take this shot. So if we go into the advanced analytics, we've talked about Steph and his defense, 119 defensive rating. And again, the Lakers hunted him. They hunted him. They made sure to involve him in all the screen and roll action. Some people were saying that Steph looked winded at the end of the game. I won't go that far, not from what I noticed per se, but people that were in the arena said that Steph looked winded late in that game. Now, granted, Steph hit a bunch of threes to get them back in the mix to tie the game and so on and so forth. But at the very, very end, they said Steph looked a little winded. Was that in comparison to the fact of being involved in so many screen and rolls with Vanderbilt? Because that's the action now. They try to put Steph to hide him. They put him on the least active offensive player on the other team. And with this roster, with the starting lineup of these guys, that's going to be Jared Vanderbilt. He took the least amount of shots of the starters. So how do you now still involve Steph when they're purposely trying to hide Steph? All right, you're going to guard Vanderbilt? Cool. We're going to run a shit ton of screen and rolls, pick and pops with Vanderbilt. So I'm LeBron. Vanderbilt, come here, set a screen, because we know they're going to switch. Now I have Steph guarding LeBron, Swiss cheese. If I'm even Austin Reeves or D'Lo, Vanderbilt, come here. Boom, switch. Now I got D'Lo guarding Steph. That's an advantage for the Lake Show. So they kept running action to make sure that no matter who Steph is guarding, involve that person in the screen and roll. Most of the time it was Vanderbilt. Let's keep bringing Vanderbilt into the action. And that way it's really good because if you don't involve Vanderbilt, right? Let's say you don't involve him because you can't do that every single time down, right? When you have Steph guarding Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt can tire out Steph in other ways. He doesn't have to be the most ball-dominant guy or to be the most shot quantitative guy to tire out Steph Curry on the defensive end. Jared Vanderbilt did a good job of staying in the corner, three-point land, but then when the shot goes up, he crashes the glass, which now forces Steph to go with him because you don't want to give up the easy putback, right? So now Steph has to follow Vanderbilt into the paint, and now that's causing Steph to box out. Now Steph can't leak out and catch an easy outlet and be bombs away in easy transition. Okay, so this is all mind game stuff. I know for some people it's just a casual game to watch on TV and all that, and some people think basketball is such an easy thing and a simple thing. There's a lot of game within the game stuff that's happening, and that's one thing in particular. Jarred Vanderbilt, his activity is going to be important in keeping Steph from being able to leak out and starting early offense and being bombs away from three, even more so than he was in this game. I mean, he still got his 13 threes up, and he's going to hit a high percentage because he's him. But the fact of the matter is that late in that game, let's see if we can break this down. Fourth quarter. So you see the shot disparity here, right? Looney took 2 shots. Draymond took 2 shots. Wiggins took absolutely no shots. Their best player in the fourth quarter was Steph. He had 6 boards, 2 assists, 3 threes, 10 shots. Everyone else was scared money. Everyone else was scared money in that fourth quarter. And then Jordan Poole, 1 of 4. So only him and Steph had the balls to take the shots in the fourth when it mattered most. Do we dare want to look at a shot chart? Let's go ahead and look at a shot chart. I love the shot chart. You're seeing that's being used a lot more online to show the game, and I think it's very important. Sometimes just by looking at where shots are taken, you can understand. So here's the Warriors, right? 53 threes. They took 53 2-pointers and 53 3-pointers. Let that sink in. They took the same amount of shots from 2-point land and 3-point land. Now, again, I broke down yesterday how the new philosophy in basketball is 3-pointers, layups, free throws. Not a lot of middies here. The Warriors are the kings of this new philosophy. 3-pointers, layups, free throws. Now, the problem is they're not going to get to the free throw line a lot because they don't have a lot of people driving to the cup. Okay? These are all shots from inside. These are a lot of Andrew Wiggins misses, a lot of Jordan Poole floaters that are missing, habitual nut hitter missing. But then again, you also have to realize Anthony Davis and or LeBron James is in this paint. So the shots are not gonna be easy in this paint. So, but you see all the threes. I mean, this is a shit, bruh. Like here on the wings, this is where all the threes are at. And where was that Jordan Poole one? That Jordan Poole one was like out here? Where was that Jordan Poole one? Yeah, this is where the Jordan Poole one was. Wasn't even the furthest miss. Okay? It wasn't even the furthest miss. With 9 seconds left, this is where Jordan Poole took that shot. Okay, let me get the telestrator. Right here. That's where Jordan Poole took that shot. Okay? As you see, there were more misses. Further out misses than that Jordan Poole one. Everyone's going crazy about Jordan Poole. How could you take that shot? Yeah, maybe he could have took a step in. You know, and Tim Legler made the great point of how he was off balance in terms of, and I'll come off the screen for a second here, of how he had to receive the rock, then turn and square. And how when you're trying to get the rock up with that little motion, it's hard to get squared and balanced. So he could have catch the rock, take a dribble in, take a step, or just take a rhythm dribble just to get squared up with the hips and your shoulders and then pull the three. But he did neither. He in one motion went from catch up and yeah, hard brick. And he had a lot of space in front of him. But when you look at it now in hindsight, it doesn't appear to be as far out as everyone says it was. Now, he was wide open, and it's 30 feet away, but when you see there were misses further away than that, You know, you kind of be like, well, is it really as egregious as everyone is saying it? Is it as egregious as everyone is saying? Because that's what is going to come down to is all these shots that are going on with what is happening with the Dubs. The fact that they took as many 2-pointers as 3-pointers is hella problematic. Hella problematic. I mean, you look at the results. They shot almost the same percentage from 2s as 3s. Again, that's not great. Okay? That is not great. But ultimately, when you look at Steph, let's go to Steph. This is all Vanderbilt. A lot of these X's are Jared Vanderbilt. A lot of these. Okay? So he's going to have to do a better job. More importantly, in the fourth quarter. He played well in the fourth quarter, but ultimately he's going to have to figure out a way to be able to get off and get off early. He had a great close, and you're always worried about that Dub tsunami of just them bombs away from 3. But in regards to how they're able to get the offense early and often, now that they know they are going to let they're going to let Klay do his thing. Because Klay's going to have to shoot himself out this slump. And you see where he's taking his shots. If he's on this side, this is the curl pin down area. There's a lot of curls, pin downs, dribble handoffs in this area. If you see here, Klay does nothing in the middle. Absolutely nothing. All his work is on the baseline. That's where he gets to run a lot of curls, pin downs, screen handoffs, dribble handoffs. A lot of this stuff is happening on the sides here, on the baseline here. He's going to have to hit these. These are open shots by and large. He just didn't make them. And, you know, you could use the trope of it's a make or miss league, but the closeouts was very important on Klay Thompson last night. But let's go ahead and talk about Anthony Davis. Because I said he was dominant with the midi, and there it is. Dominant with the midi. He's in the post. He's on the baseline. I don't really count these threes. These threes were nonsense. But in regards to he's eating in the paint, dogs. He's eating in the paint, and then he's hitting you with the middies. These don't look like middies. These are middies. Because he's getting a high screen and roll up top, and then they're dropping it off for him here to do work in the paint. Okay? Get the telestrator up. This is what he's trying to do here. He sets the screen somewhere here, right? High pick and roll. Then once he sets the screen, he's either diving straight to the rim, or he's flailing out here to get to the shot. Okay? Last night, he did a lot of diving. He did a lot of setting the screen up top and then diving down low, and that's where you see all these shots. All these shots in the restricted area. That's what he was able to do with the screen and roll. This is the AD you want. This is the AD. Come out here, set a screen up top. Then you dive here, you get your shot off. Set a screen up top here, dive to the rim here, you get your shot off. Set a little pick here, little pick and pop, drive, kick it back out to AD, AD pops to Jimmy. Or you give it to him at the top here, he dribbles into open space and takes the shot here. Because the defense might sag thinking he's trying to move downhill. But because the Jimmy was working, he's able to pull up, stop, and pop. This is the stuff that matters when you're watching these games. Liam, welcome to the chat. Yes, I not only like basketball, love basketball. Hopefully you're able to tap in and realize that as I'm breaking Anthony Davis's shot chart down. I don't know too many people who don't like basketball who are on a live stream breaking down the Anthony Davis shot chart from game 1, Dubs Lakers. But yes, if you like basketball, appreciate you tapping in. Hopefully you hit the like button. Hopefully you subscribe if you haven't already. So that's what we do here. I can get nerdy when it comes to basketball, but I try to break stuff down. So if you're not really into basketball, you can understand what you're seeing the next time you do watch basketball. So the next time you see Dubs Lakers, watch where Anthony Davis sets the screen. If he sets the screen up top here, he's most likely going to dive. Oh, let me see. Let me come off that for a sec. So you can get that. Okay. Hate how you can't scroll with the telestrator. They got to fix that. Get it right. Okay. Right there. So, yeah, when you watch the game, too, if you see AD setting the screen up here, he's most likely going to dive. But because the Jimmy is falling, he doesn't necessarily have to dive. He could kind of float out here for the pop. And you see it work on both sides of the floor. And let's go into LeBron. Why not? Yeah, he was horrible from three. Way too many threes. Don't want to see that. Took a lot of bad threes as well, just forcing it. But he is who he is. The thing is, he was a presence in the paint, and he hit a couple of middies. The middies are going to be important. Don't let these people fool you into, like, the Warriors play a brand of basketball that is specifically tailored for them. Unfortunately, because in sports, teams copy what they deem successful. There are now a lot of other teams that are trying to jump out here and try to, copy the same formula. And, all right, we're going to take a ton of threes too. You don't have Steph and Clay, and at that point in time, Kevin Durant. You don't have those three. You got average dudes trying to shoot threes like they're Steph and Clay. Problematic. The mid-range is still a thing. Now, you don't have to be DeMar DeRozan with it, but I think you can still mix that in and be able to make that a weapon in your arsenal. So that's where we're at with that. What is the game tonight? I think it's just one game. I think it's, Embiid, right? So we got Embiid as the MVP going in tonight against the Boston Celtics. The Celtics and... There we go. So that was game one. No Embiid. Beard went off. Now Joel Embiid is scheduled to play, but let's make sure now because something could have happened while I was breaking down the shot chart. Let's see. Let me come off the screen here and search for it carefully. Embiid said, I'm back. But, there's been no official word that Joel Embiid is going to play. So I just want to see and make sure if there is any confirmation that this is what we're looking at. Let's see. The NBA timeline is kind of quiet on that. Yeah, not seeing anything in regards to Embiid, but what's my man's name? Keith Pompey, right? Keith Pompey, he would have it. There he is. Pompey on Sixers. Let's see. If anyone was to have the information, it would be Pompey. Let's see. Marcus Smart is still questionable for tonight. Chest contusion. Embiid is possible. It's a possibility, just like it was possibly the first game. Okay, so he wants to play. That's not confirmation that he's going to play, but Embiid wants to play. All right, so nothing yet in regards to that. We see Embiid. It's a possibility. Embiid wants to play, but he's going to listen to the team doctors. So the team doctors could still potentially hold out Embiid. As you see here, he did some light shooting on shoot-around. We're not getting a lot of look at his mobility here. A lot of standstill, flat-footed shots. So nothing too much that we could take from that. But he was at shoot-around, and he wants to play. So we'll see. Come off the screen, set this up. We're nearing an hour. I think today will be another hour stream. We've had some good runs here doing 2-3 hour streams, but that was a lot of NFL stuff, a lot of salacious stuff to get into, but none of that is kind of calmed down. So we're just going to make sure we get in, do an hour, have some good information, good conversation, hit the chat for an hour, and then keep it pushing. But here's something as we get on AD, as we wrap up here. Remember Shaq on AD, February 28th? I don't want to say this disrespectfully, but he has fell off. Anthony Davis since February 18th has averaged 25 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Again, just because someone used to play basketball at this level doesn't mean they know how to analyze what they're watching. It's just a weird phenomenon to where, well, this guy played, he must know. No, that's not always the case. That is not always the case. All right, let's see what else. Here's something that Perk is saying in regards to the defense that we were talking about earlier. The Warriors shot 11 of 40 when guarded by AD, Bron, and Vanderbilt in game one. They were on their heels like a pair of church socks. Okay, thank you, Perk. Saying the obvious. The Lakers can play good defense. They've been one of the better teams in the league defensively, especially since the trade deadline. So nothing new there. All right. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all we got today. Good game tonight. There's some decent bets if you want to jump in with some Philly stuff. I wouldn't focus on Boston per se, because if you look at the Boston, we'll touch this real quick. Boston, 25 shots for Tatum, only 10 for Jaylen Brown. That's hella problematic. You know, I think it's just, unfortunately, I wouldn't touch anything in regards to Tatum or Brown tonight if you're trying to bet. But I do think if Embiid plays, there's some good value in terms of his points. Earlier, when I was on ESPN Radio with the homie Greg Larned, I think it was 24.5. That line has since moved to 25.5. I would still take the 25.5 if you can get it. But yeah, all signs point towards Embiid playing. How much he'll play, we don't know. How good he'll look on that knee, we don't know. Some say it's an actual small tear in that knee. Some say it's a strain. Who the hell knows? Only Embiid and the doctors know, so we'll see. We'll see. Thomas tapping in exactly. Just because they play, they think they know everything. Yeah, man, that's my biggest problem, you know, as someone that's been in sports media for like 14 years. That's my biggest problem, is that seeing instant credibility given to someone just because they played. But can they explain what they saw? A lot of people just play just because they're big, they're big like Shaq. Like, what else was Shaq gonna do? Like, yeah, he could say he wanted to be a sheriff and all that, but do you really think Shaq would have been a damn sheriff? Like, come on. So, because he is who he is, he's a celebrity. He's bigger than what he did on the basketball court. He's a personality, so it makes sense. Barkley's the same. Kenny the Jet, though, had to build his personality with his acumen as a basketball player and then as an analyst. That's someone who even though he gets stuff wrong and stuff like that, but everybody gets stuff wrong. But in the sense of those three guys, Kenny's the one where I'm like, okay, I'm actually listening to him. And then you see them having him break stuff down at the little video board because he can actually do that. Chuck just says what he thinks, and it's just purely opinion. It's not based off anything. And Shaq is very much in the same light. And who you see, who they're kind of grooming to replace them, it's very much the same. Like, Candace Parker can break it down. Jay Crawford, Jay Crossover, he can break it down. But when it's the habitual nut hitter, when he pulls up, I feel like he's doing his best Chuck Shaq impression of just, I'm going to say the thing that goes viral. And he's made a whole podcast career out of it, right? So, I mean, to me, it's kind of whatever, but that's kind of the state of the industry. Like, Perk has had to learn how to toe the line, when to try to say the thing to go viral and when to just give us analysis. He's he is feverishly trying to figure that lane out. You could argue Joel Embiid maybe doesn't win this MVP without Perk having a hot take about how there's perceived racism within the MVP voting. That kind of started the conversation of, well, how come we're not talking about Embiid for MVP? Now, most of us were talking about Embiid for MVP before that. But in terms of pushing the national conversation, that's kind of when that jumped off. But it is what it is. As of right now, we don't see anything in terms of Joel Embiid confirmed playing tonight, but all signs point to he's at least going to attempt to play tonight. So there is some sneaky value there if you get in before the announcement in terms of betting. I would take the over on his points. You can maybe sprinkle some action on points, rebounds, assists, because they're all low because there's no confirmation. Once there's confirmation that Embiid's going to play, all of his numbers are going to go up. So it's either get in now at a low number and hope he plays, because then you get the best value, or if you're willing to pay a little more later, then you wait for the confirmation and then jump in. So I will leave y'all on that. I appreciate y'all for pulling up. This has been Timeline T. I am your host, the Sam D, aka Sam Duzme Jr. We do this live stream every day where I take the most important and most useful and vital information from the timeline, and I bring it here together to you on a live stream. If you want to tap in, subscribe to the channel, you get notified of when the stream goes live. But more times than not, we go live at 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. I appreciate everyone who's able to contribute in the chat. I appreciate the likes. I appreciate the people subscribing. And I will check you out tomorrow for a Thursday edition of Timeline T. Enjoy the game tonight. Peace.